won't you listen to me? I got that flavor, I know you're dying to feed. I ain't no dancer, just got some hip in my feet. Now throw your hands up. Ooh, you bring the lighter, I got the fuse. You make a fire, I'll add the fuel. Follow my lead, just watch your shoes. Gotta turn the heat up to get this cool.
And we're back. We're back. Stephanie St. Aubyn from Allegedly Stephanie here on YouTube is back to break down some of the legal mess that's happening for a second week in a row. I thought, okay, maybe in another week or two, you'll be back. And here we are. Your favorite mayor has been indicted. Your favorite problematic fave.
I'm so glad that we are hopefully getting rid of our favorite mayor. Favorite as in infamous, unlikable party promoter turned mayor, pain in all of our New York City sides.
I literally was watching your video today because I wanted to prepare for this in regards to his indictment and why people have not liked him over the years. But we're going to get to that. We also have to give you guys an update in regards to Sean Diddy Combs. He's being sued yet again civilly, and he's rotting in jail. I don't know if you got to see it. The rumor on the street was Diddy was not eating. Word on the street, according to his attorney that's on a media tour, he is eating. Okay, and I got to look.
Attorney's very chatty, which we'll discuss.
Yes, and I got to look through the Metropolitan Detention Center menu. Better than what I had today for lunch.
Oh,
I mean, based off of what the menu says, I don't know how well it's cooked.
Interesting. Well, I think people should be treated fairly.
Yeah.
Because most people in there are innocent until proven guilty. Those receipts are decades long.
And we have video footage. I mean, that video alone of Cassie should put him in jail. Just saying. But before we get to the Diddy of it all, the diddler, or our favorite, not really, we're lying, favorite mayor of New York City, we have to talk about the icon, the legend. Naomi Campbell is in the news this week for allegedly stealing from her own charity, Fashion for Relief.
Yes.
Okay.
And I have to preface this with my bias, that Naomi Campbell has always earned her status as my problematic fave. Her and Azalea Banks. It depends on the week which one wants to act more of a fool. I know.
I mean, Azalea keeps you busy because
she does.
Alone.
She does. The two of them, they like the foolishness. They like the commotion in their own life, unfortunately. So Naomi has been accused of essentially stealing funds from her own charity that she's run for over a decade, despite her saying that she is not actually running the charity. According to the commission, let me get the commission's name correct, since it is a commission over in the UK. The Charity Commission is an independent, non-ministerial government department that registers and regulates charities in England and Wales. They did a 3-year-long investigation on her charity and came to the conclusion that only around 8% of the funds being donated were actually being dispersed to the various other organizations that she was supposed to be helping, as well as for relief. One of those alleging to be Hurricane Katrina, which that is many years ago. So I'm not sure if that was a typo on their end and they meant a more recent hurricane, which was interesting. And yes, so she decided to answer some questions, to which she said she had retained a legal lawyer.
I can play the clip. Let me play the clip. I got the clip here. Let's play the clip. Look, when you got the clip, why not play it, right?
I just found out today about the findings, and I'm extremely concerned. And we are investigating on our side. As I was not in control of my charity, I put the control in the hands of a legal lawyer. And so we are investigating to find out what and how. As everything I do and every penny I ever raise goes towards charities.
Your thoughts?
Everything she does and everything she's ever raised goes towards charity. Listen, one thing about a problematic fave, they will just get themselves into the problem.
Yeah.
Constantly. There's no point defending them because they're always up to foolishness and malarkey.
Well, here's the thing. When I originally reported on this Naomi scandal this week, apparently this investigation was prompted because the charities that were supposed to receive money from Fashion Firm Relief didn't receive their money. So, okay, legal lawyer. I think she's got
as a legal lawyer with a legal degree.
What exactly do you think, first of all, as your problematic fave, what legal advice would you give her?
To be hushed and quiet and hire a PR team and an actual lawyer, because essentially, while currently what's happening is they have stripped her of her trustee title. So when you are a trustee, you have a fiduciary duty to act in the best interest of the charity. After a 3-year investigation, they have decided not only have you not acted in the best interest, according to the commission, she is alleged to have been using the funds as if they were her own personal piggy bank, with luxury hotels, buying cigarettes, things that sound very Naomi.
Spas. Don't forget about the spas. We all love
the spas. I mean, the skin is looking great as usual. She does keep it up well. And what is interesting is she's obviously trying to protect. Oh, look at the cheekbones. They've always sat well.
That's for 50-something-year-old woman.
Listen. She's good at that. She really is. I do love, there's like an Architectural Digest video that she has where she shows one of her homes, and all of the pictures in her homes is just a mausoleum to herself. The level of vanity, you have to applaud the level of foolery in some people's lives. You're like, you know what? I suppose. What's interesting is that because she's being accused of essentially embezzling money, is what she's being accused of. She has not yet been charged with any criminal misconduct, even though that in and of itself is criminal misconduct. There is no reason for her to be saying anything besides simply apologizing and stating like, hey, this will all be handled by the charity's lawyer. I see that, it has come to my attention that mismanagement has occurred. There's not saying anything else is foolish.
I know this is being handled in the UK. First of all, we should also note that she's not the only person being accused of this. Other people within the charity are accused with certain amounts, but they're all banned for different amounts of years. She's banned for 5 years. Another person's banned for like 4. Another person's banned for like 3. First of all, I mean, I feel like something like this happens, the charity loses all credibility.
Oh, for sure. And I think it's actually a great time to point out, why would you donate and give your money to a celebrity that has no background in nonprofit work? So there are numerous celebrities, including Naomi, Will and Jada Smith earlier this year on March 24th. Variety put out an article stating, yeah, they're winding down their operations for their charity, but Variety went to the business address of the charity. The charity was an unmarked door here in New York between a pizzeria and a laundromat. So it did not look that there was actually any business ever there. Multiple celebrities often have these charitable organizations, to which then when you ask where's the money being donated, to what people, to what actual crises, etc., the trail gets very fuzzy. So I think sticking with mutual aid is usually the best idea. So direct giving, because then you know that your money is not being used to allegedly buy cigarettes and spa dates.
Rewinding back to the Naomi of it all, right now she's not facing criminal charges. I know you're not a lawyer in the UK. However, could she possibly, or do you think that they will, the next step would be criminal charges?
So I have never practiced in the UK, so I'm not sure what their procedures are. It doesn't seem to me, based on what the commission, their report is public, it doesn't seem to me that them releasing the report is somehow precluding them from filing criminal charges. So it is possible, but it also doesn't seem like they're alluding to wanting to do that either. Yeah. So I guess we'll see.
Is there any way, for your problematic fave, is there any way that she had no idea that this is what the money was coming from?
It's highly unlikely. It's not a believable story. It's not very plausible. It's not very plausible. And it's interesting because the goal of the commission is to get the money back and actually give it to those other charitable organizations which her charity was supposed to be funding. So they've already collected around £300,000. So their whole goal is restitution. So they're like, well, we don't want to put you in jail because we need you to actually go get this money.
Okay.
And we need you to actually give the money. So I don't think that they're particularly incentivized at this point. However, if the allegation is that this scheme has been going on for 10 years, then maybe we might see criminal charges.
Oh, and especially because it's so public, and your advice to her to get a lawyer, a legal one.
She's an actual lawyer, and to actually, not go the route of when she threw her phone at her assistant and decided to be like, well, I'm going to do my community service in Chanel. I wouldn't go that route again.
Yeah,
that's not going to end well this time.
When you think about Naomi and all that trouble from back in the day, nowadays, if she were to do something like that, I think it would probably be taken less iconic and more sort of like lock her up.
It would be a very like let them eat cake moment. Like back in the day, it was like, well, look at this stunning woman who also is like wildly varying levels of problematic and like, this is awful. But also she was so indignant. Now the indignance seems to be built off of allegedly stealing other people's money. That's not going to sit well.
A charity
at that.
Like it's like the worst of the worst.
Yeah, it takes it from problematic fave to like, oh girl, I can't defend you. I was never going to defend you anyway.
No.
Why? What was the reason? I think it's also interesting because people often question like, why are celebrities essentially a lot of celebrities, why are they essentially being caught embezzling funds from their very own charities? And I think part of it has to do with their money is funny. Like Naomi, while she is an icon, a supermodel, she has all these accolades, the cheekbones are still there, the skin is still skinning, everything is great. She's not walking catwalks like she used to. Like, what is actually her income stream besides being like, okay, occasionally I will show up when asked and maybe like I'll give a speech or I'll do something, but we're not seeing her in a spotlight or booking gigs where you're like, oh yeah, she's getting paid X amount of money for these things. So they often, to keep up their lifestyle, resort to varying levels of crime.
And which leads me to a couple of questions, because not only that, when you think about Naomi and what she's been doing recently, she's been doing a lot of collabs in regards to the fashion world, and it's sort of like this. It's kind of like later in life. You would have thought she would have done this when she was really hot. And when I say hot, I mean like her career-wise, because obviously she's still hot. But it's so interesting, all of these different collaborations that she's doing now, as opposed to when she was the supermodel of all time. But you're right. I think during the pandemic, we saw that a lot of people that we thought had money really didn't have money.
No.
And a lot of people that we think are super filthy rich, it's really just an image.
It's an image, and it's an expensive image, and it has more often than not, people are willing to dibble and dabble in things that they shouldn't be doing because they want to maintain that level of lifestyle. And no matter the cost.
And possibly just even greedy. They could have
very greedy. You could just downsize. I'm sure if she sold a few of those beautiful photos she has of herself in that home, that get her a couple $100,000.
My other concern, I didn't have a chance before we did this collaboration, is that this is not her only charity.
Oh.
So it makes me wonder. I know she has, I think, like an orphanage somewhere in Africa as well.
That's what I thought. Is it in Kenya or?
Yeah, I believe so. So it makes me concerned what those particular avenues of charitable giving, what's happening over there. Because I highly doubt it was just this one particular charity. When you think about the amount of money that she was utilizing from there and living the lifestyle that she's living, it makes me wonder.
And I think those are valid questions, to be honest, because rarely do we see specifically celebrity charitable organizations actually have the amount of impact that is reciprocal to the money that they are receiving. And even with, I would say, just like large scale charitable organizations, the Red Cross comes under fire year after year because people, rightfully, including myself, refuse to ever let go that I believe in 2010, during the major earthquake that hit Haiti, the Red Cross raised $500 million and built a total of 6 homes with $500 million, aka where did all of that money go? And so oftentimes a lot of these nonprofits and charitable organizations, while they're supposed to be doing good work, if there aren't commissions and various other pathways to check what they're doing, there's no way to see like where that money is going.
And that was one of the questions that I was asking you. You know, they have this watchdog investigation in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
Does the United States have the equivalent?
You know, that's a good question. I'm not sure if we have the equivalent. I know ProPublica does a great job with these types of investigations. So that's usually where I get my news from regarding this. Let's see. Let me do a quick search. Nonprofit.
And the other thing that I'm sort of like dumbfounded by, because we sort of mentioned it, but I'm sure a lot of you are like, wait, Will and Jada had a charity that wasn't a charity, and how come we never heard about it? Will and Jada's team is superb, because even look at Jordan Woods. They went on the red table. Jordan Woods' life, even up against the Kardashians. Jordan just bought like a $1 million home with her boo thing. Whatever's happening over there at the Will and Jada situation is very interesting. It's very interesting. And the fact that story, I never even heard of it. You brought it up to me. I was like, what?
It was interesting because when Variety did the write-up, because Variety is a trade publisher for the entertainment industry, when Variety did the write-up saying that their charity was winding down, that it had gone from, in 2021, raising $2.1 million to 2024 only raised, well, I think it's 2023, raising $300,000. They were like, oh yeah, they're winding the charity down. They've had the charity since the 90s. Like, this is normal, etc. And then towards the end of the article, it said, you know, but we were very curious since we hadn't really heard about the charity. Let's go to the HQ. And the HQ is just an unmarked door, as seen in the article, where clearly there's no office in there.
They're trying to keep costs down. They want to make sure all the money goes to the charity and the people that need this money.
Fascinating. Very fascinating. It's very, very unfortunate and interesting. Yeah. Which is why whenever people put their GoFundMe, I'm like, okay, good. And I was like, I'm happy to do that. Happy to do like various levels of mutual aid. And then also, if you work with an actual community organizer, then you know that, hey, like this person is good for it. You know where the money is going, because there's too much instances of fraud.
Yeah. Even from the people that you think you can trust.
Yeah.
Just saying. I mean, they can barely trust each other. So
they're such a special brand of mess.
They are. I think we can wrap that up in regards to Miss Naomi Campbell. We're going to continue to watch the story. She's denying any of this. And she has her own legal lawyer on it. But because we're talking about Naomi, we got to talk about her brother, Diddy. Diddy's back in the news this week. Okay, he's been in the news since last week. This is why you're back.
He'll probably be in the news every week up until his trial.
Here's the thing. As a lawyer, you being the lawyer, not me.
Yes.
As a lawyer, shouldn't there be a concern as someone's lawyer that your lawyer is on a to-be documentary for TMZ, The Downfall of Diddy, The Indictment?
A to-be documentary on TMZ. I just want to make sure we take that in.
For a good second.
If that was my lawyer, I would fire them. Because how is that helping my case? It's not, there's nothing that would possibly require a lawyer to do that would further the interests of their client.
Do you think this, because, you know, Diddy's all about publicity and PR. Do you think this is actually at his directive? He doesn't know anything about the law.
He doesn't know anything about the law. And I think one of the interesting things, if you have a strong-willed client, as the lawyer, you do have an ethical duty to the client to tell them, hey, this is what's in your best interest. If I'm not acting in your best interest, you can essentially, during the trial, move for ineffective assistance of counsel, as in my lawyer did not help me. They did not follow instructions. They do not know the law. I am owed a mistrial, etc. So there are various steps. one of the main things they tell you is, well, the purpose of having the lawyer is to follow the person with expertise. So while maybe that might be a stretch to think Diddy is orchestrating it, I think the lawyer, unfortunately, is similar to how some of the high profile quote unquote entertainment lawyers are. And this is a very small niche. Most entertainment lawyers are excellent lawyers, mostly do, because it's mostly transactional work. However, with like the height of celebrity and the rise of like court TV, and as we've seen, like court TV has really gone from the Depp versus Heard case and how we've seen the proliferation of that, there has been a rise of lawyers who have realized, oh, I can get my profile up if I accept a high profile client who I know might lose, but I'm going to go on my own press tour and get my name out there. And to me, that's what it seems like his lawyer is doing. And not that I'm rooting for Diddy to, you know, because I'm not whatsoever, you know, have a good lawyer. But from a basic standpoint, it is a little flabbergasting to watch a lawyer act in this manner and just say what is objectively outlandish things. Because I've seen some of the clips from the Tubi TMZ documentary.
I mean, even before that, the way that he was trying to make this relationship, I mean, within the Tubi documentary, he says it too. He's like, you know, this was a relationship. You know, one of the resounding words that he kept saying is that it was heartbreaking. I mean, look, he has to do what he has to do to make us believe that Diddy is an upstanding guy. But he tried to make Cassie into the villain when and he tried to spin what that video we all saw into something else.
And at this point, it flies in the face of logic to try and spin that video.
Yeah.
It's very black and white what is going on in the video. And it's a very interesting and honestly, like, just foolish legal path to say, like, oh, let's focus all of the PR around this quote unquote abusive relationship, where clearly this is an instance of coercion. There is a huge age gap here as well. There's a level of grooming. There is abuse. All of this is documented.
He's also an employer.
He's the employer. I was like, that is only a fraction of the charges. Your client is getting charged with conspiracy to racketeering for human trafficking. That's not, there's no figment of a relationship in those charges. So trying to act as if these aren't very serious charges just seems more than just a waste of time. It seems as if, you know, he kind of is just using it. I don't even think at this point, the more I think about it, he's trying to make himself look good as a lawyer, because from a legal perspective, if I was a client, I would never look at this and be like, oh yeah, this is a great lawyer. He's doing a great job.
Unless they win, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No. And I think maybe he just likes to chat. I'm very confused as to what what his prerogative is, like what the end goal is of doing all
the amount of money that Diddy has allegedly, because again, we were just talking about how people like his money. But with the amount of money that he has, you would think that he would have gotten like a Mark Garagos. But I'm thinking, I did see that Mark Garagos' relative is part of the prosecution in California. So maybe there's a conflict. But I also wonder, because, you know, there are rumors that Diddy is being taken down by powerful people, not just in the music industry, but throughout politics and entertainment, that maybe they all turned him down. I mean, there's so many lawyers though.
There's so many lawyers. And honestly, I think while it's easy to like let our minds go to the conspiracy of the thing, there are enough documented evidence over 3 decades that he is a self-inflicted horrible person. And has been since, unfortunately, that nightclub shooting, been a self-inflicted horrible person. The woman who was shot in that shooting, she has maintained for almost 30 years that he shot her. And she received death threats over the decades. Shine just came out recently and was like, this man ruined my life. And so I think while people want to be like, there's a conspiracy, no, his consequences are just finally finding him. You can only do this level of like chaotic crime for so long with such disregard to everything before it catches up with you.
But it still makes me wonder, how did he end up with this attorney? Like,
I don't know that. I have no idea.
I don't know this attorney's track record, so I'll put that out there as such. I don't know what he's done in the past or what he's won in the past. Maybe there's a reason why he enlisted this particular person for whatever reason.
I think sometimes people with like high egos choose lawyers that will listen to them. So that might be how he ended up with this attorney versus an attorney that would have told him, hey, the best route, there is no best route. Like, you are going to get time. You need to plead guilty. You need to, you know, show remorse for what you did. You need to stop the foolishness. A good lawyer would have told him that. He obviously is not going to want to hear that. He wants his day in court. He wants the hoopla. He wants the fanfare. So I think it might be a bit of him self-sabotaging himself by getting this type of lawyer that's also like, with all the fanfare and the foolishness. I think there's also part of, like, if you watch his press releases and the way he acted all the way up to being taken to the detention center, I think he's like in a level of like disbelief that he's actually getting consequences. I don't think he thinks that, like, oh yeah, I'm really going to jail.
I mean, after 30 years of getting away with it, I can understand why he would have that delusion.
I think it's a very high level of delusion and hubris, and we're seeing a mix of that. And I think this attorney is willing to be like, well, my bill is getting paid anyway. He probably asked for his retainer up front and was like, well, I'm getting paid, so I'm going to go chit chat and be like, yeah, look, see, I'm chit chatting for you and I'm making it look better. And he probably is going into Diddy and showing him those fringe groups of, you know, very misogynist men that are like the only ones still rooting for him and be like, see, it's working. We're doing a great job. I think that there is a level of probably like deceit and trickery going on between the two of them.
Well, makes sense. Well, this week, his attorney revealed that Diddy has planned to testify. In your mind, in this type of case, what is the proper action to have? Should Diddy testify on his behalf in this federal case against the Southern District of New York?
Absolutely not. And also, I think it goes without saying, Trump also stated he would testify and he never did. So sense might find him when he's sitting there facing life imprisonment charge. And
why is it in the best interest of, you know, just for those that, for layman's terms, because you know, there's certain things I'm going to ask you that I already kind of know the answer to, but I know that there are people watching that be like, but why can't he testify? His life is on the line. Why is it in his best interest not to testify?
So clearly his lawyer is trying to, either at Diddy's behest or because the lawyer thinks it's a good legal strategy, which I don't agree with, is trying to spin this as like, oh, again, he's very heartbroken, blah, 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 malarkey about what was clearly a very abusive situation. Him testifying, when you testify, you have to go on cross-examination. So first you have your witness testimony. So his lawyer will ask him the questions. It kind of comes across like as more as a story. So I'd be like, hi, what's your name? Where are you from? How long have you lived in New York? When did you meet, you know, Cassandra Ventura? It's very calm. It's everything is very much in your favor as the defendant. When the prosecution gets on when it's their turn and Diddy is on the stand, they have the opportunity to cross-examine him. When you cross-examine somebody, the entire point is to catch them in a lie, or to get the facts out and have them admit to the facts. So it's very much on XYZ date, you were caught on video assaulting Cassandra Ventura. Yes or no? Well, yes or no. This is you. And then you pull up the video. And then it's very, you can't perjure yourself, because if you perjure yourself, now you are going to get additional time. And then you can't talk yourself out of it. So there literally is no reason when you stand accused of this type of crime, when there is so much evidence that he has self-recorded himself, to sit on the stand and then you can't explain yourself out of the video. Like, well, actually, it's not me. It's my twin brother. And
also there's video of you admitting that it was you after it came out.
Exactly. There's video of you apologizing. There's multiple videos of you. There's videos of you, you know, with the IV fluids that match what some of the victims are saying. All of that would then get pulled up and be like, okay, so we noticed that you have this. Is that because you were participating in human trafficking at this hour? At this, we have this. And there would be no reason to testify. Nothing good would come out of it.
This week alone, there are 2 new civil cases against
Yes.
Diddy. Gloria Allred had Thalia Graves in a press conference talking about how she was attacked by both Diddy and his security
Yes.
20 years ago, over 20 years ago. So she's suing civilly. And then today it was revealed another woman going by Jane Doe is suing him as well, claiming all kinds of horrific things, including getting pregnant by him and him asking her to terminate the pregnancy. She ended up ultimately having a miscarriage, but she talked about, and this is not that long ago, the dates that she's giving. What can you tell us about both of these civil lawsuits? I mean, because it's kind of crazy. You're in jail right now facing federal charges, but you have 13 civil lawsuits.
We're on 12 now. Yes.
Okay.
So I'm going to be covering them both on Sunday. So on my channel in detail as well. Essentially, one of the things I think is always important to point out, because whenever women take time to come out and say like, hey, I am bringing this to light, etc. In the first case with Thalia Graves, she specifically states in her lawsuit that she was extremely hurt. It describes a very brutal incident, which we won't say here. And she basically stated that she was told not to say anything because it would damage her boyfriend's career, that she would face repercussions, that she was terrified for her life, and she tried her best to just get on with her life. However, in 2023, it was made known to her that there were videotapes of this very violent assault, which then re-triggered all of the trauma, which is why she now is saying something. And with the other women's, similarly, I think it's always important to note that because we live in such a patriarchal system, people don't believe women, which does not incentivize women to come forward. And even when you do come forward, you face another string of abuses from our police system of asking very inappropriate questions, not knowing how to handle those types of things, brushing it off, etc., which is why people don't come forward in the next day sometimes, because sometimes you come forward the next day and then you're getting told like, well, that didn't happen, it's in your mind. Which, can you imagine like how traumatic that would be? So that was one of the reasons why she waited this time. I would say, because Gloria Allred does take on a lot of these cases, I am not a fan of the way that she in my opinion trots out victims of this type of abuse. Like, I think it just opens up a level of like nasty commentary about the victim, particularly in a social media age, that is unnecessary. So the case could have gotten filed and she could have had her written a statement, and maybe she could have read the statement without having like a press conference and having her sit there and like relive all of it again. Because that is, I would say that is like the legal strategy that Gloria does, which some people agree with it, that you need to see the face of a victim. And then some people are like, I think they're just re-traumatizing the person. So civil court, which is interestingly, because a lot of I've seen, hopefully, I don't, maybe it's not a lot, maybe it's a small portion of people, because have not necessarily like been exposed to the legal system. So you have civil court and then you have criminal court. So civil court is, you have a private right of action to a harm. So for example, kidnapping, which is a crime. You can go to jail for kidnapping somebody. Also, if you kidnap somebody, they can also sue you, because that is false imprisonment. So they can sue you and say, I'm going to sue you for $300,000 because you have falsely imprisoned me. But also, I sued you, I get my $300,000, and you're going to also sit in the jail. So both will simultaneously ideally happen in Diddy's situation, where all of these victims that have filed civilly for their private right of action will receive their restitution and those damages, and simultaneously will most likely be testifying at his federal criminal trial regarding what has also happened to them. So I think we're going to see the two of those things happen at the same time.
Sidebar, he did have a little bit of a legal win in the past week in regards to that $100 million default judgment that has now since been, I don't know what the right terminology would be in regards to that. So he doesn't have to pay that. right
Yes,
now.
I saw that was thrown out because he got the default judgment because nobody from his team nor himself showed up in court with the man that was suing him, which I will say that for a pro se litigant, so he represented himself, he was very well researched. He was very well researched. I was very surprised in watching the Zoom meeting. He has his own set of issues as to why he is in
He's
the
in jail.
prison.
Yeah.
So
In prison.
just to put that part out there. However, yes, that was thrown out. So the default judgment, the $100 million.
And part of Diddy's response was the fact that he wasn't properly served. The lawsuit.
Yeah, so they'll probably just circle back around with that. I'm curious how that will play out since he is now also incarcerated. So, but him being incarcerated does not stop these civil lawsuits.
Yeah, we noticed. Two this week. Two this week.
I'm sure we're probably going to see more.
Without a doubt. And the thing is, the more that we see, I don't want people to get desensitized to because of that. We have to remember the reason why you're seeing so many lawsuits. The same with Bill Cosby. It's because these two have been running amok for decades.
Yeah. And because people are also very frightened of him. That is there are a lot of common themes in all 12 of the current lawsuits. And one is obviously one of abuse. And the other theme is one of extreme fear of, hey, I've seen what he's done to other people. It is stated in both Cassie's lawsuit as well as in the federal indictment that he literally set Kid Cudi's car on fire.
Wow.
So people have been afraid, rightfully so. And because of it, now that he's behind bars, people have a little bit more sense of like, well, I can finally say something. I think that's why we're seeing more people say something now.
Wow. So one of the other things in regards to that's come out this week, they were reporting that Diddy was not eating in jail because of fear of being poisoned. It's now come out through sources close to Diddy, his attorney probably.
His attorney is a one-man hot mess express.
Usually in this type of situation, he clearly is working with other attorneys, correct? Hopefully.
He should be. He should be, but the way that he is laying out the theory of the case, I would just be very shocked if he was. We're going to have to do some research. I'm going to have to do some research into his firm because I'm very curious.
Me too. I heard, isn't his wife an attorney as well? I've heard.
I'm not sure.
I believe so. I randomly saw a comment of someone saying that they really love his wife. And they said something like legally. So I may be wrong, but I think I'm right in regards to.
I'm looking him up now.
We appreciate
Mark Agnafilo.
Yeah.
Oh, this is very interesting. So you know what? I think I'm gonna go with my original thought of Diddy hired somebody that was equally as foolish as him because Mark Agnafilo is the lead attorney in a small boutique law firm, which he does not have a background in the type of crimes that Diddy is being accused of. So if I could share my screen.
Yes, please do.
Let's share.
I love it when you share the screen. Always comes with the facts. We love it.
This is very interesting. So this is Diddy's lawyer. This is who is on his own press tour currently. He generally has secured 3 complete acquittals, it says, in cases ranging from assault to international tax fraud to political corruption. And he has tried over 200 cases in his 30-year career. I would say 3 complete acquittals in 30 years. I don't know that if I was a defendant that I would like those odds. I don't know that I would like that. However, he did used to be a district attorney. So I'm sure that's one of his selling points of that. Since he was a district attorney, he understands how the prosecutor's office, is going to run a trial. I could see how that could definitely be a selling point. However, the majority of his cases, according to his own website, are involving securities, mail, wire insurance, bankruptcy fraud, money laundering, construction and labor, union matters, foreign corrupt practices, international arms dealing. So a little bit, I think there's probably some RICO in there, criminal antitrust, bribery, kickbacks, and criminal tax investigations. You don't see anything here specifically about trafficking. So that is very interesting. And he specifically has an active international criminal practice, represented clients working with local counsel on matters charged by governments of Italy, Switzerland, Romania, Bulgaria, and Kyrgyzstan, as well as investigations in several countries. So I think that maybe he has represented a few crime and or crime syndicate bosses, mafia, etc. That's what that would lead me to believe based on what he's saying. So maybe that is why Diddy hired him.
Yeah.
However, he doesn't have any, according to his website, any background dealing with celebrity clients. But all right. So apparently, citing the New York Post on your own website is very fascinating.
It says a lot.
That says a lot of what type of lawyer you're about to get, which is interesting. So Dina,
I think in the future though, this is going to make more sense in regards to how these two got connected.
I think so. And interestingly enough, Dina Manzo's ex-husband racketeering case is listed here after allegedly hiring mobster to beat up Real Housewives of New Jersey alum's husband.
We've covered that story.
So multiple of those. So maybe that is why Diddy sought to have this lawyer. These are very.
Who did he represent in that case? Because if he represented Tommy, Diddy, they won't let you out.
The fact that we're on New York Post now. I'm sorry. We're on New York Post now, a place that I don't ever like to be. Attorney for a garden restaurateur asked federal judges to dismiss the case. Is looking to throw out the case centers on 22 indictment. I'm just reading really quick.
It's okay. Take your time.
Menzo said he brought.
Because that would be really interesting to know. Who did he represent in that case that he's highlighting on here? Because if he represented Tommy Manzo, Tommy's locked up. Tommy's gonna probably pass away in jail.
Manzo's request is the latest. I think he did represent Manzo.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, it would make the most sense because he's the one being accused. So.
Yes. Federal prosecutors say Manzo got angry with Dina. He allegedly hired Pina. Manzo. Prosecutors. Let's see.
Oh, the other article says Dina Manzo's ex gets racket. Okay, so I think he did because it's saying that.
He did represent Tommy Manzo. Yep.
So I guess these articles are highlighting the things that he did win. I don't look. His
isn't he in jail?
Yes, he's in jail.
Not you highlighting a case that you did. Oh no. Okay, so now we see where this is gonna go.
I think he was just highlighting those particular wins that he might have gotten.
But the overall, he's like, well, I lost the trial, but I won a few motions.
You didn't give me the update that he's in there for like 60 years, but whatever. Anyways, look, that is Diddy's attorney. That is Diddy. Was there anything else that you wanted to update us on in regards to Diddy? Look, you're going to be back here. You're stuck with me.
Yeah, we're stuck together.
Yeah, and when the trial starts, me and you,
we're gonna be sitting in the court.
I need to make sure I get my spirit. Look, I got some power sets. I want to make sure I do that before and after this trial.
Yeah, I don't think they're scheduled for a hearing. I believe first week of October. So
next week.
We'll see. Yes, I think it's towards the end of next week.
All right. Okay, we got to talk about Diddy's one-time friend and your favorite mayor. Mayor Eric Adams was indicted this week on multiple charges, wanting to do wire fraud. Apparently, he loves to go to Turkey. Apparently,
he's a girl. He likes to get flued out.
I mean, me too, but not like this. Okay, can you just break down this case in layman's terms for folks?
Yes.
Okay, what exactly is he being accused of? Because we did talk a little bit about Mr. Adams during our last collaboration last week.
Yes.
In regards to people in his administration getting in trouble. And we knew it was looming that he was as well.
Yes. Okay, so his indictment is 57 pages.
And you did explain this on your YouTube channel, guys. As always, I'll be posting Stephanie's information in the description so you can get a full explanation of his charges. but we have a lot to talk
Let's do overbrew. Yes. So if you for the full, like, I did an hour-long live stream yesterday about this actually. So go head over there to Allegedly Stephanie and you can get the full breakdown. So he is being charged with 5 counts. I'm actually going to go ahead and share. We'll just use hold on. We'll just use what I used yesterday and make life easy.
Love it.
I already have it prepared, and there are some interesting things in here that I think are definitely worth highlighting. So,
and this man is a cocky mother father.
Listen, I can't stand him. I am his number one hater. I would like to say number one hater, in which most New Yorkers do not like this man. So he is being charged with 5 counts. So we have conspiracy to commit wire fraud, federal program bribery, and to receive campaign contributions by foreign nationals. Again, conspiracy is you colluded with others in the furtherance of a crime. That's all it is. Count 2 is wire fraud. Count 3 and count 4 are solicitation of a contribution by a foreign national.
Why are there 2 of the same?
Because when you look into it, he was soliciting money from foreign nationals from Turkey, as well as from an unnamed, according to the indictment, ethnic country, which, you know, SDNY had a sprinkle in their little racism in there. I was like, he's saying it's the ethnics doing crime. They said, we, the ethnics, are doing crime.
What in the see, this is why we have to have Stephanie here, because I when I reported on this, I was like, why is it the same count? I thought maybe it was a typo. But no,
so it's the same. So they have 2 separate counts, and then count 5 is for bribery. So essentially what Eric Adams did, and I think it might be best to show you what he sold the city for. He sold the city for this and only this, which this is a list in the indictment of all of the flights and trips he received from 3 varying Turkish businessmen, 1 Turkish businesswoman, including the help of Turkish Airlines, which is their national airline. So he essentially, from the year 2016 to 2021, was being flown out for various first-class trips, amounting from $12,000 to $41,000 for 1 round trip. He went to France, Turkey, and China in that trip. He went to Ghana, another $12,000, Turkey, $21,000, Hungary, $12,000, and oftentimes inviting his friends, allegedly inviting family, etc. This is, according to the indictment, all he received.
Wow.
Just these trips. It is definitely not enough to potentially be facing 45 years in the penitentiary.
So that's what he's facing.
That's what he's facing, and that's what he received. So we can get into what he did to get those trips.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. First of all, though, in the explanation of him flying on these trips, it makes me wonder what happened on these trips, because I don't feel like it was just for fun and games. I feel like more probably happened during these trips, and more expectations were told to him during these trips. So go ahead.
Yes. So some of the trips he was there to meet with Turkish business people, Turkish diplomats, to see like what type of business dealings they wanted in New York City. And then some of them, they just sent him on vacation, to which he stayed in what was called the Bentley Suite at the Four Seasons, which was very much giving Rentley energy. That was an $8,000 suite. And at times he would pay nominal prices. So he would pay like $300, $400. So it looked like he paid something because he was trying to cover his tracks. And essentially what he did was, before Eric Adams, unfortunately, became our mayor, he was the Brooklyn Borough president. So he was the Brooklyn Borough president for almost 10 years. And while he was the Brooklyn Borough president, he decided that he wanted to run for mayor and that he would need money to run for mayor. And in New York, what I learned through this case is we actually have this really great matching funds program for elections. I didn't know we had. I think we should keep it. It sounds great. And we need to put, people in charge to make sure this doesn't happen again. We're essentially, according to the matching funds program, in New York, we have rules where corporations cannot donate money for the mayoral elections. People are not allowed to donate over a certain amount. I believe that amount is anything over $2,000. And then foreign nationals are not allowed to donate to the mayoral elections. And
that kind of goes without saying.
Exactly. And so then with our matching funds program, because in New York we have like very vast income inequality. So the whole purpose of the matching funds program is for regular people, when we donate up to $250, that the city will then match it $8 to every dollar. So as a candidate, so say you're running and I'm like, I believe in Kempire. Kempire is going to help us. He's going to make New York fun. He's going to get rid of the rats. He's going to make sure people are fed. He's going to help the kids read. It's going to be great. All the things that I want to see. I would then give you my $250. I'm like, I'm donating $250. And because I'm a degular New Yorker, they would say, okay, Stephanie's a degular New Yorker. You can apply for the matching funds program. And they would give you $8 to every $1 I gave you. So you get $2,000 from me. Essentially, he committed fraud, according to the indictment, 2 different ways. One, he solicited the money from foreign nationals, which is illegal. You cannot do. So the Turkish nationals. He then, one of the schemes he was running is he would tell the businessmen like, okay, well, and one businesswoman as well, equal opportunity scamming. You know, you cannot donate the $20,000 you want, but donate $20,000, $2,000 each in all of your employees' names. Give the employees the money back, and then not only have I broken 2 of the laws because a corporation has given me money, also a foreign national has given me money. He then had his team go to the city and say, hey, I want to apply for the matching funds program with this money because these are just regular people. So with the matching funds program, he allegedly took $10 million from New York federal taxpayer money in matching funds that he should not have taken. And with that money, he went and got all that advertising, got everything. Because for years, we've all wondered how the hell did this man become mayor? How did this happen? How did his name end up everywhere? It was there were a lot of people in that race, most of whom were much more qualified than him.
Without a doubt, I didn't vote for him.
I've met one person that voted for him. Only one. Most people I know voted for Professor Maya.
Yeah.
I was like, she was great. I was like, well, how did we end up with this con man?
Can you explain how? Because you did explain this in your video.
Yes, and part of it is because it is also the first year that New York had ranked choice voting, and they didn't do a lot of education to tell people like, hey, this isn't what ranked choice voting means. So a lot of people didn't realize. So that's how we ended up with him. Part 1. Part 2 is because he did illegally get $10 million of extra funding, he used that to plaster his face everywhere. And to make himself the face of the Democrat Party, when essentially he is a Republican. He's very conservative, has very conservative views. His funding of NYPD is extremely conservative. Nothing about him screams, even somewhat to the left. Nothing of what he's doing. So that was a large part of it as well. And then one of the interesting things, because he did all this, of course, these high-level Turkish executives and diplomats that he was working with, they were not going to give him these flights for free. Once he came into office, they then, according to the indictment, had him push through the inspection of a building, a Turkish consulate building, which was not up to code. He allegedly threatened to fire the fire chief of FDNY because the fire chief came out and rightfully was like, y'all should go in this building. Like, you need to fix things. Push that through, as well as numerous other things and favors. And then even had who was basically like the airline coordinator who was coordinating all of his free illegal bribery flights. The airline coordinator then threatened him and got a position on his transition cabinet as well, which a specific quote pulled from text messages. The airline coordinator basically says like, oh, I think senior lead or advisor would suit me unless you want to sit back in 52, as in row 52 in economy.
Oh,
which, you know what?
When you are just a terrible human being, of course you're surrounded and attract more terrible human beings.
Listen, because Bishop Lamar Whitehead is also like his mentee and good friend.
I didn't realize that until I watched your video. I was like, and we talked about, we will call him, what's his name? What's his first name again?
Bishop Lamar Whitehead.
No, we're not call him a bishop. Lamar Whitehead.
Bishop Scammer. Yes.
Bishop
that
Scammer.
Is now currently in the penitentiary as well.
Yes, we gave you an update in our last video. So if you missed that, be sure to check that out. That just came out last week. When you mentioned that they were friends, I was like, it makes complete sense.
Of course they're friends. Of course they're friends. Of course they're friends. So that is how we're here. And the indictment is interesting because, of course, he's not the first politician to be accused of doing these things. However, this is the first politician I've seen so sloppily just be like, oh, I'm above it all. I don't give a damn. And roping in his government employees also to help him commit fraud so he could go on flights.
And it's interesting because it makes me wonder, will there be more? I mean, people are already facing charges even before he was indicted. He turned himself in today, but I found this to be interesting. First of all, they're going to try and get this case dismissed by October 2nd. Secondly, he's able to keep his passport. Yes.
He has shown that he likes a flight.
so the judge said you can keep your passport? Like, what is that about? Because normally I saw
you have to hand it in. Yeah.
You have to hand it in. So why is he allowed to keep his passport? And why does he think that he's going to get this dismissed by October 2nd?
Yes, October 2nd is next week, by the way, which is just, he's also the same as Diddy with an obscene amount of hubris to where it doesn't make, you're just watching it like, why do you think that this is going to work for you? Multiple of his like closest advisors have already been indicted as well. They've stepped down from their positions. They are likely singing like canaries because they're not the ones getting flown out on trips. There's no need for them to be ending up in the penitentiary for you.
Yeah. Ugh.
All of this to be cheap is really what irks my spirit, I think.
Because, okay, where did that 10, I guess the 10 million did actually go to his benefit, maybe not necessarily in his pocket, but it did go to, you know, promoting not just his last campaign, but the future campaign. Did he really think that he was going to win?
He also was doing the same scheme for the 2025 campaign as well, according to the indictment. Yes. Yes.
He has said, Mayor Eric Adams has said that he's not stepping down. Do you think that he will be forced to step down, or
I think his level of just delusion is something we haven't seen in a mayor in a long time. I don't think he's going to step down. I don't think he's going to listen to anybody. I'm very curious to see if the people of New York make it so that he has to step down. Because how are you going to effectively do your job if people are rightfully protesting you everywhere you go?
At the press conference this week, someone was saying this is not a black thing, because I think that's one of the things he loves to do. He loves
to trot out the elders next to him who don't know. And it's a level of bamboozlement that really irks my spirit.
Yeah. So what would happen? Let's say he does step down. What would happen? I know a lot of people in New York are wondering, like, who's going to step in?
That is very curious. I think we have a deputy mayor.
I mean, we have a deputy mayor.
We have a deputy mayor, don't we?
And it makes me wonder, what exactly did the deputy mayor know? Like, I don't want anyone in his administration right now to like send them all out of here, but that would be chaos.
And it says according to City and State, amid City Hall turmoil, Mayor Adams changed succession rule for first deputy mayor Sheena Wright. So he's already out here. Sheena Wright is the deputy mayor. Okay. He's already out here changing the succession rules. So what's going to happen, because according to him, is unprecedented. So Mayor Adams, according to the Daily News, Mayor Adams issued an executive order yesterday, actually on Thursday, that allows Sheena Wright, his top deputy, to delegate her duties to another senior administrative official with the stroke of a pen, an unusual move that comes amid turmoil at City Hall and speculation over whether Wright could be next to leave the administration. So he essentially did that because she might also leave. So honestly, because numerous people that are under him are also being called out in the indictment, have also left the administration, I think we will see something unprecedented because the line of succession is disappearing.
Oh my.
And do you want to be the mayor?
No. No. It's a hard job. No, if anything, we need to go back to and beg the other candidates.
We do. We need to go back and beg.
I mean, and look, I feel like I think a lot of people think, you know, it's New York. New York has, you know, we're very democratic. We're very liberal, blah, blah, blah. But you see these things. First of all, when you explain the whole system that was in place for electing the mayor and how the voters were not educated on how that works, I feel like that was intentional.
Yeah. I think it's a funny business.
because I don't think that Eric Adams has moved alone, and I'm not even talking
No, he's
with the assistance of like Turkey.
no, he's definitely a useful idiot. And I think, though, similarly to Trump, he's a useful idiot that also believes his own hype. So I think he causes his handlers consternation.
Wow.
Because the way he acts, sometimes I'm like, whoever has funded all this for you, I know you're not following instructions.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because it was just, what was it, a few weeks ago that he asked Diddy to turn back over the key to the city. I can't help but associate, this is why we're talking about Naomi, Diddy, and Eric Adams. There's a connection. I can't even not think to myself that this, even doing the giving Diddy the key to the city, had something behind the scenes going on that was going on between Diddy and Eric Adams. I'm a pushback, something.
I honestly, I wouldn't be surprised because he calls himself, what does he say? He's like a party man. He's like a specific phrase that he calls himself because, you know, Eric Adams is always at the club.
Yeah.
So he loves to party. He loves to be out. He loves to be, you know, out with celebrities, not doing his job. So I wouldn't be surprised if he also, you know, thought it was advantageous to, you know, befriend a problematic person that is, you know, Sean Diddy Combs.
Yeah. Well, Stephanie, it's always fantastic having you here. I didn't expect, I mean, it's like, I'm okay with you coming back weekly, but I didn't expect the following week. So much to cover. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. Let everyone know what you're working on and what's coming up for you. I know you mentioned that you will be going live on Sunday talking more about the Eric Adams situation. So let everyone know where they can follow you and what's
So I'm over here on YouTube under Allegedly Stephanie. So I will be discussing Diddy's newest civil lawsuits, as well as the differences between civil and criminal law and how these two sets of the legal process are going to play out for him. So we're going to talk about that on Sunday. I think I have it set for 2 p.m. Eastern. So come over there. I will have ample trigger warnings for the certain sections. So that way I don't want to jump scare anyone whatsoever. And yes, and then I'm always over on Patreon where we have weekly deep dives, as well as Julesy and I do a weekly commentary about what's going on in politics. So if you are keeping up with what is currently going on and not going on, and you know, all of that circus area, we do that as well. And then I'm over on Instagram, can go and chat. And then occasionally I am trying to do better and be on TikTok. So
we all are.
Well, listen, I'm trying, but everything is under Allegedly Stephanie. So.
And of course, we will be putting all of Stephanie's information in the description. Don't forget, guys, you can also follow her on YouTube and all the platforms that she just mentioned. And you can hear this conversation on the Kempire podcast exclusively as well. Stephanie, thank you so much for being here. As always, we appreciate your legal perspective on these cases. And as we promised the folks, once this federal trial starts with Diddy, we are going to make our way to the damn courthouse.
Oh, we are. We are.
Especially
particularly with this very interesting lawyer leading the way.
Do you think that he will stick with this attorney by the time that this goes to court?
I wouldn't be surprised if he fired him. But again, I do think because he is in denial of the fact that consequences are finding him, that he might like that the attorney is, you know, doing this level of foolishness. I could see a very, very odd world in which he's like, no, this is good.
Before you go, I did want to ask your thoughts on Kim's Lost Words. Since then, that this book that touted to be Importer's book, her manuscript. Since then, the publisher has backtracked on that. Alex Short came out and said this is not Kim. The family has released a statement saying that this is not Kim Porter's last words. But no one has said that they're moving forward with a lawsuit. Do you think they have grounds for a lawsuit and that they should?
So I am curious, who wrote the manuscript?
Well, they're claiming that it was Kim. And
who is claiming? Because when I started poking around, I was like, who is making the assertion that they just randomly found?
That's the part of when this came out. I was like, I cannot in my right mind tell you guys to go read this book, because they literally said in the Daily Mail that they were not able to verify that this was actually Kim's book. They were basing this off of this publisher saying that This was given to me by a very credible source. They would not tell us who the source is. They were verifying it. But now, since then, the publisher is now backpedaling on that, and everyone has been returning this book. And even the name that's posted on the book, they said that's not the real name.
Interesting. So essentially in the US, we have what's called a right of publicity, where you own your own likeness, you own the rights to like your face, your name, your life story, etc. And if somebody uses them without your permission, you can sue them and state like, hello, you didn't compensate me, you didn't ask me. This most often comes up when people have passed and somebody is trying to utilize that right of publicity, and particularly with public figures, they'll say like, well, they're a public figure now, I can use it. Like, what, it's a little bit of a blurred line. And then usually the estate will say, well, if you're going to use it, you still have to get my permission. Yeah. So they would have grounds to sue the person, because I think there is a very good argument. The more private of a person you are, the larger usually proportionally your right of publicity is.
Oh.
So, for example, like, you know how you always see what look to be like unlicensed, unverified documentaries of celebrities, and you're like, this person didn't agree to this. Like, why is this out there? And then the legal pushback from the team that did the documentary or did whatever, they will say like, well, this is in the news, so you don't have a right of publicity to what is in the news. This is a news story. Like, yeah, it's about you, but this is a news story. Kim Porter was Diddy's longtime girlfriend. She was a very famous model. She also, you know, is the mother of 2 of his children. However, she was not particularly a very public person. No. Okay. So I don't think that somebody could make the argument and state like, yes, some of her most private, intimate moments, I can go capitalize on them. I don't think that they would actually have any right to do that, and the family could probably sue. I do think it's interesting that the publisher would even go through with it without verifying who they're getting this alleged manuscript from.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure the publisher is just trying to do a risk analysis of like, well, if we make X amount of money and we get sued for Y amount of money, we still make the nexus of that, which is nasty.
But my thing is, they could face not just lawsuits from the estate, but people that are mentioned in the book.
Oh, for sure. Because then you get into whether or not it's libel, whether or not it's slander, and you have multiple issues there. Because usually when you write like a memoir and you have mentioned somebody, usually you have to get the sign off of that person as well for various things.
Stephanie, I just thought to myself, you have to come back. We have to have a conversation about Wendy Williams, her guardian, and that is suing Lifetime A&E in regards to the Where is Wendy Williams documentary. So start researching on that, because I have to have you come back so we can break that down.
We'll have to talk about that, because they reached out to me to include a clip I did on live stream about her and about financial abuse. And they were offering to pay me for the clip. And I was like, well, who approved of this documentary? Like, who's behind it? And like, I started asking questions, and the answers to the questions were very cagey. So I was like, no, thank you.
Oh, this is why you need a lawyer.
I was like, I don't know how y'all are going to take this.
Fine.
Yeah, I was like, this is a very well-intentioned live stream about how she's being financially abused. I don't know how you're about to take this and put like a minute clip and then turn it into foolishness.
That's true.
Seeing parts of that documentary, I was like, I don't think she approved this.
Well, it didn't seem like she was in her right mind.
Exactly. It's very sad. It's
but
very
sad.
Sad
in regards to that, and I'll let you go. Sorry. We're going to have a longer conversation about this, but here's the problem with the Guardian's take on this, she's also an attorney, is the fact that she knew that Will Selby, who was acting as Wendy Williams' manager at the time, was a part of this and actively a part of it. So you signed off on him doing this. So I feel like you were complicit as well.
Is this her same guardian that was appointed from Wells Fargo?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I have thoughts. We'll have a much longer conversation.
Yes.
I have thoughts. Because the fact that
we can't wait for that one, but stay tuned.
The fact that a bank was able to come in and put a guardian over an independent human being that they have no financial or they have no familiar relationship with is objectively very wild.
very, very concerning.
When she has living, breathing family that is more than happy to help and assist her, have tried to assist her.
Yep.
And again, a corporation that is known to steal money from Black people. There are enough lawsuits about it. It was like, oh, actually, we're going to put our executive in charge of you.
And that's why I'm conflicted with the documentary, because it really did put a spotlight on what was happening with Wendy.
Yeah.
Yes, it didn't put her in the best light, but now we're having that conversation. We wouldn't have had this conversation.
Yeah.
In that documentary.
It's true. I feel like that documentary highlights like multiple things are true at once.
Yes.
Because it's extremely uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
But then to your point, how else were we also going to know that this was happening to her?
And that this has happened not to just her, but other people that aren't public figures. It's currently.
Oh, yes. Yes. These conservatorships, they often go after people with money that they think don't have a lot of family. Yeah.
Sad, but we're going to have a larger conversation.
We are definitely going to have a larger conversation.
I just had the thought. I was like, oh, wait, I need to ask you about.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm going to brush up on the newest news about the case.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Stay tuned, guys. If you enjoy things like this, make sure you subscribe to both of our channels because that's important. And make sure that you like the video, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and stay tuned for more things coming from Stephanie here on this channel. But this weekend, she'll be breaking down Diddy's lawsuits this Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern. Go check that out. Go subscribe. Go drop your crowns and your elephants and all the good stuff. Stephanie, thank you so much for being here. We look forward to another update legally from you. All right, y'all.
Having me.
On the next one, of course.
You bring the lighter, I got the fuse. You make a fire, I'll ask you. Follow my lead, just watch the shoes. Gotta turn the heat up to get this cool.